Hey, Verse Course Verse DL here. It is that time of the year again already. In about 2 weeks, we will be recording our finale episodes, and we want to hear from you. Do you have any questions for us? You have any comments? Anything that you want to say that might make it in the finale? Write us. Send an email to contact@versecourseverse.com. Send me a message on Instagram @versecourseversepod. Whatever you want to do, hit us up. We will answer your questions on the finale. Hey, thanks. Coming up on Verse Course Verse, way back in 2021, Evil and I agreed on 2 things. Let's talk about them. Welcome to episode 95 of Verse Course Verse. I am DL. With me is teacher of Gojira to DL, Evil, Jimmy.
That's a lot of
Evil.
pressure.
How are you doing?
I'm good
today.
I'm very good.
It's early.
Yeah, early recording. Another one. We seem to be doing this more often.
You know, I thought that they would be tricky, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, me too.
It gets me ready to go for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Or it gives me an excuse to not have to do a lot the rest of the day. I can tell people, look, I just had a few drinks, okay?
Nah.
It wasn't my choice. It's for content. I don't like drinking. I just have to do it for my job.
This is the burden that we carry.
Yeah. Boy, Evil, we're getting down to it.
I know.
Episode 95. We do not have very many left.
95. That's crazy. Think back to, oh my God, what was the first episode
Was it 19? No, it wasn't 69.
Was it Corn?
It was Corn. It was.
I re-listened to a little bit of that. I was so excited. I was so loud.
Well, I think we also, was that like episode 6?
Something like that, yeah.
So I still had a shitty mic. You still had a shitty mic.
Yeah.
There was so much that we hadn't figured out.
Yeah.
There's going to be an episode coming up that we're going to talk about our 100 episodes.
100. That's good for us. I'm going to pull a muscle patting us on our backs.
Speaking of end of the year, because we're at the end of the year episodes. And one of the things that we're going to start doing every year, we couldn't do it the first year for reasons that you will learn shortly. I'm calling this the Samesies episode. And this is what I've decided. Every year in the finale, if you didn't listen to the first one, go back and listen. It's spectacular content. We're hilarious while drinking in the same room.
I've listened to a little bit of that as well. I apologize to listeners for how belligerent my laughing is the deeper into the episode we got, because I was pretty tipsy by the end.
Yeah, I'm going to give out an award at the end of the year for drunkest episode, like who was the drunkest in an episode. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that episode for Evil is a nominee.
It should be. It's a good thing I Ubered home that night. Let's just say that.
You have by far the least amount of nominees, though.
Wow.
You hold it together. It is very hard to tell when you are drunk until there's like a certain point where then it's like...
yeah, the cliff.
There's a cliff. And the only time I've seen you fall off that cliff was the finale. Mm-hmm. Only time with podcasting. I've seen you in past lives.
I'm not going to pull punches. I was fucked up at the end of the finale. For real.
I wasn't at all.
In a wonderful way.
Yeah, no, that's
so much fun.
That was an incredible time. Anyway, part of the finale, what we do is we pick our 5 best albums of the year. And what I've decided is if Rachel, Svend, or you pick 2 of the same albums of the year, then we are going to do an episode about those 2 albums in the next year. We'll say 2 or more. So not just one. I don't think that that's enough content. Plus, I do think that since we all listen to a lot of the same stuff because of the podcast, that it would be too many episodes. The odds of us all having sames are pretty good for one.
Yeah. makes
Two or
sense.
more, I feel like it's going to be pretty rare, I think. Maybe not for you and I, because one thing I've learned is even though we have very different favorites of genres, you and I end up liking a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah. If we did like a Venn diagram of all of our interests, our circles would overlap the most, I think, of the four of us.
Well, I think Rachel and Svend too.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be the weirdest fucking Venn diagram is
would
what
be.
it would be. This is that episode. This is Samesies. Evil and I had two favorites, favorite albums last
Pull it
year.
together there, buddy.
Yeah, I'm trying.
It's too early.
I know.
We need to start
very
drinking, I think, is what.
Listeners, you already know what they are if you listen to the first episode, but I'm really excited for these because not only do we get to talk about two albums that we obviously liked, but it also gives us a chance to, over a year, did it change?
Yeah.
Do we still even like
Right.
it? Some of these that are high on favorites, you can listen to them enough to get sick of them after spending time with them. I mean, that happens to you a lot too, right? It's not just me. Like you,
Completely. I'll have some darling album that I'm in love with and then go back to it a few months later and be like, what was I thinking here? Like, what the hell? Question for you. I don't have our rankings for these albums from the finale. Do you have that?
I do.
Handy?
And
Okay,
I will,
perfect.
when we get to awards and categories, there is a category specifically for that.
Got it.
And I will say what we rank them.
Yeah.
Very surprised looking back because they are swapped from what I thought they would be. A specific album is much higher on mine and another one is higher on yours that I thought it would be completely reversed.
Okay.
Before we get into this more, we got to talk about the most important part of brunch, we'll say. I'll go first because I haven't seen your drink yet and I'm excited to see it because it's one of my favorites when it's done right. My drink is one of my favorites when it's done right too. It doesn't look pretty anymore, but it was once. It's a Irish coffee. One of my favorite drinks ever. This, I gotta say, last night I bought Jameson has 4 different kinds of stout barrel Jameson. They do like an orange Jameson. This was an IPA barrel Jameson.
Interesting. Okay.
I thought, what the hell? Why not? I didn't. It's fucking good.
Huh.
It doesn't make sense.
The hoppiness adds a little something.
I don't taste hops.
I feel like we live in some bizarro world because like 10, 15 years ago, it was all about aging beers in whiskey barrels. And now we flip-flopped and we're aging whiskeys in beer barrels. Like,
I'm very glad for that.
we're bored humans.
Exactly.
Humans get bored.
But
yeah.
you know what happened? Because they were bored, that same time you're talking about, whiskey was not a fucking thing anymore. Like, people didn't give a shit about whiskey from
That's true.
the
That's true.
70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Scary times where we lost a lot of really good whiskey. I'll admit my whiskey drinking stayed mostly to Crown and Jack and
Yeah. Crown was like, we were splurging when we bought Crown.
yes. That was the Friday night. I just got paid. Let's party.
Get
Whiskey.
some Crown Royal.
Yeah.
That purple felt bag.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A little gold.
Oh, God. I have a story about Crown Royal. One New Year's Eve, I was doing shots with buddies and it was Crown Royal. That was like our celebratory spirit of the day. And I sneezed right as I took a shot and it redirected the entire shot into my sinuses.
Oh.
And it was one of the worst experiences. Oh my God, it was terrible. I instantly was like sneezing, like slobbering. I wound up like puking. It was awful.
Whew.
And I rallied and drank some more. I think I drank so much Moose Drool, I may have puked again that night. College.
I was going to say, that's the age. That's
Yep.
the age where you do it. I was a terrible drinker. It didn't stop me, but I was not a puker. I was a blacker outer.
Ugh, that's
Yeah. And the worst part about that is I was, in my 20s and stuff, I was super high metabolism guy, didn't eat a lot, very hyper, little high strung. And I would drink a lot of, I drink a ton of like Red Bull vodkas and stuff like that. Which Red Bull and vodka, I'm thinking that might be the most dangerous invention in the history of mankind.
Yeah, let's add a whole bunch of caffeine to our
Taurine.
alcohol.
So when you black
Right.
out, you're still going to be there for a couple hours at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you remember Sparks?
Yes.
Like, there's all kinds of versions of these things. Sparks was the one that I drank the most of. This is pre-Four Loko. And
yeah. It's like a silver can with like orange outlining.
Right. The can looked like a battery.
Yes. Yes.
That's great branding, actually.
Holy shit.
Yep.
And then there was Four Loko.
I don't think I ever drank Four Loko.
Probably smart.
Thankfully. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm drinking. Evil, what do you got today?
Speaking of the dark times in spirits, the 80s when vodka was the time. I don't generally drink vodka much because it's odorless and flavorless.
Yeah.
I mean, it smells like alcohol, but it doesn't have any smell that gives it any character. It just smells like alcohol.
You're a big cocktail guy, and people like that, you want to be inventive with the alcohol being up front.
Yeah.
And you can't do that with vodka.
No, because the whole point of like a good vodka is distilled to the point where it takes all of the character out of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few drinks that I'll put vodka in. They're usually some kind of highball variant. And this one is a Bloody Mary, spiced Bloody Mary.
Oh, man. Look at that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. He's got the celery stalk in there. He's got the pick
big
with
olive, cherry tomatoes,
green olive,
a big ice rock. Keep it nice and cool. I made my own Bloody Mary mix with tomato juice, Worcestershire sauce, tamari. I used a hot sauce called Slap Ya Mama hot sauce. It's like a Cajun hot sauce. Really good. Just a pinch of tahini to give it a little flavor, some lemon juice, some cracked pepper. It's good.
Nice.
It's really good. I could have made it a little spicier, but it's got really good flavor.
Do you, is there anything on the rim? I guess not, because if you put tahini on it, you wouldn't really need.
Yeah, I thought about doing that. I like to do like a tahini rim on mezcal margaritas.
Yeah.
I thought about doing that, but I'm like, I didn't want to overdo it.
You know what I do on Bloody Marys? And I think I might have said this before on the podcast, but hey, well, us people that drink, we repeat ourselves quite a bit. Old Bay.
Ooh.
Salty, briny addition to it.
To try that. Yeah.
It's pretty fucking good. That's what we're drinking. We have two albums that we, at least at one point, loved to get into. Let's take a break and get into them.
And we're back.
I'm leaving that in. That's your first one, Evil.
Oh, ooh.
Let's get into our first Samesies that both of us had in our top 5 last year. In this one, I probably surprised you.
Yeah.
And that is Fortitude by Gojira.
Yeah.
Thank you to Gojira and Roadrunner, because we do have the rights to this. We are going to be able to play a Roadrunner label and the bands that are on Road. Actually, I'll say more the bands.
That's good. They're smart.
Yes. This is something that's going to fit you well as the podcast grows and the content grows. By far, the most appreciative genre and genre that will let you do things and reach out and do interviews is metal. By far.
Good.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I think it's part of the ethos in like the metal communities, that grassroots tape trading, bands that start kind of a grassroots campaign. I guess hard work and touring and stuff is appreciated. The flip side of that is all the shit talking when bands are successful. They've sold out. There's the flip side to that. But I think it's just blue collar ethic in the music. It's just woven into the whole culture.
I hadn't even thought about it. You are totally right. Where most genres, it's important for alt rock, not so much alt rock, but rock, rap, hip hop. Most genres, it's kind of important to your marketing to be the brilliant, above everybody, too cool for this shit sort of thing.
Yeah.
And metal, like you just said, in order to be popular in metal, you kind of have to be the opposite.
Right.
Like you said, grassroots and appreciative.
You're kind of in the trenches.
Humble. Exactly. Yep. Actually, I'm going to ask another question, because you're going to know more about this than me, because I know absolutely nothing. Those countries like Norway and Sweden and the places where metal is pop, where metal is it the same thing there? Are they grassroots? Are they a little more, we are the famous musicians of this place? Or are they still are those bands typically pretty humble?
I think
maybe that's a sign of the country.
I think so. I think they're fairly humble. I sent you a message about In Flames. some of the members and former members own a hamburger
Yeah.
restaurant and bar
Yeah.
in Gothenburg, 2112, named after a Rush song because they're all huge Rush fans. So I think so. I think they like to be part of the community. In Sweden, most kids growing up playing some musical instrument is just part of their education. Arts and music are viewed as being a much more integral part of education and culture.
Good news for you is that we do tend to get a lot of random, I will say this, we don't have as many listeners over there, but our rankings as far as music podcasts are consistently way higher in countries like Sweden, Croatia, Ireland, really random ones, Vietnam, places like that.
Vietnam. That's
so
wild. That's awesome.
Consistently. And actually, I don't think I've shouted him out yet. Shout out to fucking Ireland. Ireland's been on us for a good solid 5-6 months now. All you listeners in Ireland, fucking thank you. I have never been to Ireland. It's probably in my top 2 countries that I've never been to that I really want to go to. All I've ever heard about Ireland is that A, it's beautiful, and B, the people are the funniest, coolest people that you're ever going to meet.
Have you ever watched, it's like Irish people experiencing things for the first time?
Oh, like
fucking
what?
Hilarious. Irish
Just
people listening to certain music for the first time, or trying certain alcohols for the first time, or foods from around the world. It is so amazing because they're all so fucking funny.
They're just witty, right?
Oh my God. It's so good.
You think that'd be insulting, isn't it? Like, what are they trying to say? Like Irish people live in a fucking cave or something? Irish people try McDonald's.
Right.
What is this?
No, it's
But
great,
yeah,
man.
I would say out of all the countries to have fans in, that's one of the top ones for me. That's fucking awesome. Point being that hopefully, I'm hoping someday.
How are you going to explain your relationship with the band U2 to these people?
That's a good point. My only hope, there's got to be a good percentage of the population in Ireland that, I mean, Bono, right? Come on, people. Bono. What would be our equivalency to that? People, Kid Rock? Like, people have to be looking at America being like, there's no way that everybody in America likes this fucking dude, right?
That's amazing. What a quote. Bono, the Kid Rock of Ireland.
Yeah. And our Irish listeners completely go away. Oh, well. Anyway, hopefully we can tour those countries someday because that would be fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still doing my 10-second reviews every day. Very, very proud. You as my personal trainer. You should be too. I've lost 22 pounds as of today.
What? Are you being for real?
I swear to God.
22.
I've lost 22 pounds.
That's insane.
And I'm not doing anything dangerous. I'm not binging. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just eating better foods. I'm working out every day. Thank you to Evil. I concentrated extremely hard on my sleep. Mm-hmm. So my sleep has improved vastly. And it just keeps...
That'll fix more than just... That fixes everything.
Oh, I'm happier.
Yeah.
I have more energy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the biggest things that I've noticed. I'm going to try to tie it into you giving me another tip, but forcing myself to make sure that I get at least 7, hopefully 8 hours of sleep a night. Or if that doesn't happen, going to sleep early the next day.
Yeah.
Forcing myself to make it work.
It's better to consistently get up at the same time and just try to go to bed earlier than to sleep in, because that'll kind of throw off your rhythms a little bit.
I get up at the exact same time every single day.
Yep.
I didn't even know that. That's a tip. And then I also do, the green smoothie that like Rogan. I don't know if did it start with Joe Rogan or did he just made it?
He calls them Hulk loads. Like anytime he gets a hold of some idea, he puts a spin on it that makes you think some mental image that doesn't get out of your head, and it just goes viral. Yeah,
he's the 14-year-old brain comedian guy. Yeah,
with one of the most enormous platforms to reach humanity that's ever existed.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about that in the finale, actually. But I've been drinking, I think it's basically that smoothie. It's celery,
some
ginger, kale, some beets every once in a while, garlic, apple. I got to tell you, if you drink it doesn't taste good. You just get it down your fucking gullet. Mm-hmm. All the nutrients you need for a day. To me, I don't eat a bunch during the day. I don't have time. I've noticed, and I'm not sure if it's my sleep or if it's that I have so much fucking energy so much longer. I used to get so tired at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and I still feel fucking great.
That's awesome.
But my question to you, a tip for today is, I know that eventually, because I've always been a weird weight guy, my weight just varies. But I know that eventually I'm going to hit that wall where I'm not really going to lose weight anymore.
Right.
I'm going to, not easily. How do you not get disappointed with that? Feel like you're not doing as well anymore because you're not. How do you get through the times where you're not seeing results?
You have to redefine what results are. You use the phrase losing weight, and I always would coach people to say reducing your body fat. If you're losing weight, at some point you're losing muscle and bone and organs and other stuff too, which, not necessarily the best thing. So optimizing your body mass. Everyone's a little bit different in the way that they would restructure that mentally. Get away from the idea of losing weight, because weight is such a hard thing to grasp conceptually.
It can be bullshit, especially if you're talking about like BMI and...
Right. Like I'm obese on the BMI.
Exactly.
BMI is like a rough grope at body composition.
Yeah.
Changing your relationship with what the right goals are, making progresses. Because at some point you just get to an optimal state, and then it's about sort of maintaining that and dialing it in just a little bit more. Sleep, energy. I think it is so driven into our minds. You got to lose weight. Where do you go when you get to the point you're healthy? That's where like body dysmorphia and eating disorders and stuff come into play that kind of nip that in the bud, get ahead of it.
What's something, this might be a hard question to answer, so you don't have to answer it, but I'm assuming that at some point with training, that's happened to you.
Yep.
Where you stopped seeing results and it was fucking frustrating. Was there a specific mantra that you had, or was there a light bulb moment at all, or was it just kind of...
Okay. The two best gauges of health and fitness that I can give to anybody. Do you feel good? And do you like the way you look naked in front of a mirror?
I mean, how many people would say yes to that?
They got work to do then.
Okay.
Can you stand in front of a full-length mirror and looking at yourself and be like, fucking A? Or you're like, I got a little work to do. This is like self-perception. Do you feel good about the way you look? More importantly, do you just feel good?
Yeah.
Energy. Is your mood good? Are you in a positive state of mind?
I like that a lot because so I'm the type of person, and this is honesty corner, but that's what helps people, I think, is I probably, because I've talked before about how I used to be a big time runner and stuff like that. And I had a lot of the problems you were talking about with a lot of long distance runners end up having problems with anorexia, and it can be a shitty mental sport.
Right.
And I probably will never be the type of person that looks at myself in a mirror and is like, fucking A. But I can judge stuff based on, you know what? I feel fucking good. I get home from work. I've got energy.
Yeah.
I still want to play with my kid. And that's the only thing that fucking matters, I think.
I was going to add to that, but you said it perfect. I was going to say, if you're a person who is so hypercritical that even if your body composition is great and you look in the mirror and you're like, that's not good, you're not feeling good at that point. And that's why I said that's the most important thing. It's, do you feel good?
That was a deep trainer's corner with Evil Jimmy.
Ooh.
I like it. All right, let's get into Fortitude by Gojira.
All right, we can do it. We have the fortitude.
Evil coming in with his dad jokes. Released April of last year. It was recorded in a span of 2 years in Queens, actually, in the Silver Chord studio in New York City, which surprised me.
Really?
Label is, once again, Roadrunner, and producer is Joe Duplantier, who is one of the brothers that started Gojira.
Yep. Here's the thing. Think about the guitar player, drummer, brother tandems throughout the years. Pantera, Van Halen, I'll drink for that later. Some of the best bands ever. These guys
it's almost like they have their whole life to practice together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're so in tune with each other.
It's fucking, And that's Gojira. Gojira is Joe Duplantier, who does the vocals, and he does a lot of stuff, actually. He arranges the song, rhythm guitar. Yeah. Sorry to the French, I'm going to butcher all this shit. Christian Andrew is the lead guitarist. Jean-Michel.
Also, I think, is it Duplantier because it's French?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Look, Gojira, we're American, okay? We're
bad, but we love your music.
Joe Duplantier, Christian Andrew, John Michael Labadie. No.
And twins.
Jean-Michel and Mario du plantois, we'll say.
That's awful.
Sorry, French. There were a lot of engineers on this. A lot of Andy Wallace did the mixing. Ted Jensen did the mastering. Gojira is French, which I love. I don't know why. I just love it. Before we get into talking about this album and what we both loved about it, we got to do the friendship test.
Ooh.
Evil, what is my favorite song on this album?
I'm going to say Newfound is your
That is a
favorite
very
song.
good guess. For you, this is why I had a hard time with this, because I know you love Gojira. This is what I'll say. I am surprised you are such a fan of Gojira, because I don't think they're that metal. And so what I did is I picked one of the metalist songs
heavy.
on this album, which is Grind.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Solid
almost picked
choice.
Into the Storm because there's that strength within thing in that song, which is also a very evil thing, but I went Grind.
Yep.
Boy, the end of the year 2021 love from metal sites and magazines, people fucking loved this album. It did hit number 1 on the US hard rock chart and all of the Swiss charts. I would call this, and I want to see if this is even a thing or if it's too much of a juxtaposition. If I called this simple prog metal, what would you say to that?
I wouldn't have a hard time with that. This is a very interesting band. I do this with like the LA bands from the early 90s, like Rage Against the Machine and Tool. And we're talking about Venn diagrams and a different sort of Venn diagram. I have a band, Cynic, Gojira, and Tool. They're very different musically. Number one, no band sounds like Cynic. No band sounds like Tool. No band sounds like Gojira. And then thematically and lyrically, esoteric / spiritual themes.
Absolutely.
There's way more going on in those 3 bands than you would pick up from just like a cursory listen. Secret about me is I'm not what you would categorize as being a deeply religious person or even like a deeply spiritual person, but I am in a way. The messages these bands layer within their music and lyric, it resonates with me pretty deeply.
We've talked about that a lot this year because we've talked about metal this year. We've talked about, I'll say, the Halo Effect or Baroness. Gojira, at least in this album, because I haven't listened to enough of their stuff to use their entire discography as an example, but this album is so much more than I typically get from metal albums.
Yeah, it's deeper.
It's so complex. The lyrics and the harmonies are amazing. Unbelievable. And the choices that they make with vocals, their guitar work, and with the tribal sounds that they're throwing in there. I would say this. I would say for you people out there that just aren't major metalheads, but you just want good albums, I would give this a shot.
Yep. If you're a music nerd and you're not into metal, you would probably still like Gojira for a number of reasons.
I said in the finale, this album is a masterclass in songwriting.
Oh, completely.
After listening to this for a year, I absolutely think that. The very first song, Born for One Thing, I don't love every song on this album, but I can pick out parts to almost every song that I do love. Breakdowns and bridges and Born for One Thing, which is just a killer starting track.
Yeah.
And I'm now remembering that was on your like top 5 favorite songs for last year. And I'm mad that I didn't pick it as your favorite song. Son of a bitch.
I don't know if we mentioned this, but Gojira is the French word for Godzilla. That's where their
I
name
didn't
came
know
from.
that.
They wanted to be called Godzilla, but so there were some other like rights issues with other bands, so they chose the French version, which is way cooler anyway.
Oh, if a band named Godzilla came out with this album, I don't think I would have ever heard it. Oh my God, Rachel Evil's trying to get us to listen to this band called fucking Godzilla.
Last year, listening to this, I loved this album last year. Also, this feels like forever ago.
Doesn't it?
April of 2021 feels like 5 years ago almost. And musically, I love this song. But before preparing for what we're doing today, I didn't really dive into the lyrics as deeply. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Previously, what drew me to this song was just the musicality of it. But lyrically, this is a song that resonates with a lot of Buddhist tenets. Why are we here? What are we doing? How do we be happy? And how do we embrace death as part of life? Like I said earlier, I'm like, that resonates with me.
Me too. Absolutely.
Majorly.
And I might cut this out. I might not. We'll see where this conversation goes. But I kind of took this as a bit of a dig on religion, as a of a, why the fuck as humans are we trying to find a reason for death, or why death needs to matter? Why are we trying to tame the greatest fear of all? Embrace that you're going to die.
Right.
There's nothing after. You're just going to die. So live the smartest, best, kindest life you can fucking live. But I'm also like that. I'm always kind of a little bit of a
There's a Buddhist saying, once I heard it, somewhere in like the late 2000s, I had kind of a little like mental shift. I shy away from the term spirituality because you get into some fuckery there pretty quickly. It's the Buddhist saying, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water.
Oh, and that's good.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. That's what this song basically is about. We're here to experience this thing. And at some point, we'll be gone. Accept that. And then you can get to work experiencing this thing.
I love that. I love that so much. I like to go by the words of the great Geddy Lee when he said, "Why are we here? Because we're here. Roll the bones."
Fuck yeah, man.
This album is so up my alley. I'll ask you this. Do they do the tribal thing in a lot of their albums, or was this specifically because this had this Amazonian depletion of our world feel?
I think it's much more in focus here. The song Amazonia, that's a tip of the hat to Sepultura for sure. Like Roots, Bloody Roots.
Oh, okay.
These guys are huge Sepultura fans. They're so subtle in the way that they do it, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. They don't beat you over the head with it. Like,
right.
if you haven't heard this album yet and you hear us talking about, oh, they're adding this tribal shit, it's not a shtick. It's not
not at all.
Hey, this is our theme for this album. There are certain other bands that have done that before. Look at what we're doing to the environment. You can tell these guys feel this shit.
They are conservationists.
Tree huggers.
In like such a good way.
In a good way.
They're not complete assholes about it. To the point that I think proceeds from this album, or at least some of the proceeds of the album, go to benefit like an NGO in Brazil to like conserve the Amazon and help out indigenous peoples there.
Oh my God, you're right. Holy fuck, I love these guys.
Yeah, right?
They've raised over $375,000 to put toward aiding the indigenous tribes of the Amazon.
There you go.
Who have suffered from deforestation, land loss, forced labor, violence. Holy shit, that just gave me chills. Mm-hmm. That adds even another layer to this album. Amazonia, I fucking love that song. Mm-hmm. It's a broad, well-met point. And that song is just about the rapid disappearance of the Amazon jungle and what it, not so much just, look, the Amazon's gone, but what it represents.
Yeah.
The greatest miracle is burning to the ground. More people could be doing more.
Yeah.
It reminds me, so I know that this name is controversial, and I'm not saying he's great or not great, but he fucking exists and he's funny. Louis C.K. has one of my favorite comedic bits of all time. He starts the bit saying, like, it's weird because tree huggers always end up being liberals, and conservatives, they don't give a shit about that stuff. Conservatives are always Christian. If you're a Christian, don't you have to give a shit about the earth? He does this whole thing about God coming back and being like, what the fuck did you guys do?
The thing is they do it in a way that doesn't come across as being preachy.
Not at all.
Or contrived. They take the high ground. I don't have the right words to really describe it. It's just they're better people than me.
I completely agree. I don't feel preached to at all when I listen to this. And it's not even, there are times where it's pretty blunt The chant, you were told to crawl and hide. I don't have the lyrics pulled up in front of me. There's not a lot of subtlety.
Leave the mud behind and climb up the sky. Wake up to the sound of doom.
Yeah, they do the same thing with Another World, which is this, you listen to it the first whatever times, and it seems like a pretty simple context, but man, it's so fucking complex musically when you start listening to it.
The way they manipulate tempo is fucking otherworldly.
Yes.
I don't have any other way to put it.
Their rhythm section, the choices that they make between their rhythm section and their guitarists, it kind of blows your mind a little bit.
And the space that they can leave in songs.
I think that's another reason I love these guys, is because there isn't, you know, with a lot of metal, you get a lot of look at what I can do. They're not like that at all in this album. Every single song is completely about the song.
There are some like subtle classic rock elements in this album that are not in other albums that they've did, like some guitar solos, which they are not known for. They don't do solos. And like some sing-along choruses, which is not a normal Gojira thing either. But they're still very economical and lean in the way that these guys are a completely different level.
I do think that one of the best examples of that is Another World, which also we already talked about. And that's another song that I just love. The lyrics, I am a little bit of a humans suck kind of person. I just am. And that song is, and I could be wrong, but that song essentially is about how we're fucking parasites. And eventually we're going to kill this world, and we're trying to find another one to go kill.
It's him sort of like wishing that there's another world that we can go to because we're fucking this one up. We've been talking about King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard outside of the podcast quite a bit. They released an album
once a week.
Australian band that is extremely prolific. They release rock albums in all genres you can imagine.
Crazy.
Weekly.
Yes. They're
Not
fucking
really,
insane.
Pretty close. But they released one in 2019 called Infest the Rat's Nest, which was like a thrash metal album about this exact concept. But they have a song called Planet B. There is no Planet B. They're like trying to, hey guys, we're fucking up. There is no Planet B. Another World is kind of like a more positive bent on that message.
We haven't really gone over a lot of the tracks, but that's the basic point of the album. Actually, I'll ask you this. The song Into the Storm, triplet stuff, which is much more metal than the rest of the album.
Yeah, it is.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
Dude, in that intro, that like the train... That is fucking brilliant.
Man, their drummer does amazing things.
He's so good.
The few negative reviews I saw on this were this is not Gojira metal.
The whole album? I mean, what is Gojira metal? Like, what the...
I don't know. I'm asking you, bro.
That seems...
I was more asking, do you think that this is the sort of song that people expect from Gojira?
Maybe. The Sphinx sounds like classic Gojira to me.
I could see metalheads loving that.
That's classic Phil. Classic Gojira. That's the Sphinx. Into the Storm is probably a little more in that vein. But, I mean, they've been experimental from the get-go. I don't think it's a fair assessment. This isn't metal. I don't buy that. I think people need to open up their ears a little bit more. I got a great quote from Joe about grind. Of course, we love to grind. I don't know if there's anything better in this world than playing a riff with the drummer, which is his brother. Lyric-wise, I'm talking about transcending ourselves and overcoming our problems. We have the power. We can change things. We bend laws. We can break walls. But we have our routines. Wake up, wash the dishes, go to work, make money. You have to surrender to that clockwork grind in order to find freedom. So you do your dishes, motherfucker. You'll suffer less tomorrow. Chop wood and carry water. I fucking love it, man.
That's what I want to hear from bands that have been around long enough to have enough money to where, you know what? Don't fucking preach to me. You're rich. You can go off for a week to the Amazon and help fucking... I don't know. I mean, it's also a depressing message.
It can
times.
be. Yeah.
At times. There's also a lot of you have strength within you that you have no idea.
Right.
It's the Navy SEAL thing. You have no idea what you're capable of.
Absolutely.
Let's get to some awards and categories.
Let's do it.
The David Crosby Met Award for bad reviews. This one isn't crazy or bad, but it just fucking irks me, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit. This is James, who gave it 3 out of 5 stars, said, and the title is average. I find it a bit dreary and boring. This is my first Gojira album, probably my last. That's not a terrible, it's a terrible review, but it's not a terrible thing to think.
Right.
What fucking irritates me though is if you know a band has 8 albums, we'll say, you think, I think I want to see if I like this band. How could you possibly think that you could just listen to one album? If you like it or not, then you're fucking done. I don't like that.
No.
At all.
It's lazy.
I've probably done it before.
I know I've done it before.
All right. We got some new awards, so pay attention, everybody. Some new categories. The One of Us Award. Evil, out of Svend and Rachel. If we
Oh my God.
made them sit down with this, who's going to like it more?
If we rewound about 6 months, I would have 100% said Svend. But Rachel has confused me recently. Her take on certain heavier albums. I'm almost leaning towards her now. I really don't know, but I'm going to say, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say Rachel this time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here's what I think. I think it's Sven, no question. Here's my thought process.
Okay.
Obviously, it's working because you just picked her. I think Rachel
She's fucking with
wants. Us. No, I think she wants to be besties with you.
Oh.
I think she's
not going to happen.
Looking, she's
not now.
she's looking for that evil love. So she's like, Halo effect? Yeah, that's great. And then I'm sitting there thinking, oh, you lying fucking like, there's no way you love that.
Rachel's a parasite.
Well, we all are. Rachel, I'm just kidding.
I think she would like this. I think she would look at the lyrics and the musicality, and I think she would actually dig it.
I know
Svend will like it.
That's not at all what I think. I think Rachel this year has been trying really hard to branch out and give.
God damn it. Do I have to listen to Blackpink now, don't I?
No, that's not branching out. That's giving up. The DMX award, to me, it's the fact that you can't call this a metal band. It's so much more than that.
They're an N of one. There is one Gojira. It's them.
Overrated, underrated, properly rated. I think properly for both. This got great reviews, particularly from metal sites and magazines and stuff like that. We can't really do in its time and currently because it's still like you got to give it like 5 years to see where it is. And
I think so too. I think it was properly rated. I think it will age well.
Influences and influencees. Evil, for any metal album we talk about, can I just say Morbid Angel and Death and be okay? I feel like I can get away with that. Yeah. There's a lot of melody in this. So I would actually give a lot to, I mean, you said Sepultura, which I don't know enough.
Listen to Roots, the first track of Roots. On the Nose is such a, and they're huge Metallica, of course, but I like your Death Morbid Angel. That's
the other one I was going to say too, is Metallica. Another new award, the Tossed Salad and Scrambled Eggs category. That is essentially, what is this album about? What was
first of all, go watch Frasier, Hard Stop, and then go ahead.
Yeah, if you don't know where that came from.
Exactly. I'm assuming some people are going to be like, what's that all about? But go watch Frasier. That's one of the best television shows ever.
But the Tossed Salad and Scrambled Eggs award, in one sentence of armchair psychology, what was the lyricist trying to get across in this album?
Humans are bad, but we can be good.
That's way more hopeful than mine, which is the world will die very soon and it is our fault. There was a lot more psychology for the two of us in that.
Wow.
Never mind the Bullocks Award. So I've only listened to 2 Gojira albums fully, so I can't answer this. What about you? Actually, 2-parter. Where does this stand in your Gojira rankings? And where does this album rank for most Gojira lovers?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one. Where would others rank it? I don't know where it's going to land. My favorite is From Mars to Sirius. If I had to pick 3, it would be From Mars to Sirius, number 1, The Way of All Flesh, and then this album, Fortitude. Fortitude might be my number 2 now, and it could someday be number 1.
John Paul Jones Award. 2 things that I think would be cool to hear on this. Not needed. This doesn't need anything. I think it would be cool to have a choir in the chant. I don't care. African Mormon tabernacle, whatever. I don't give a shit. I think a choir would be pretty cool. And then one more thing, I was kind of hoping that at least like one song would be in French.
Yeah, they don't do any in French lyrics.
Just so you know, swear to God, if you Google, has Gojira ever sang in French, it says, did you mean, has Godzilla ever sang in French?
I like the We are the worst people.
We are evil. What about you? What's your John Paul?
Since Amazonia was such a tip of the hat to Sepultura, I don't know if they're buddies or know Max Cavalera.
Have one of them in there.
Yeah, have Max do some vocals on it. That would be cool.
Teach 'em Young Award. What song are you going to show?
When I was thinking about this, I'm like, do I pick something that is more old school Gojira? The chant has like old school guitar solo in it.
Yep.
Yeah. So do I pick something like that? Let's just go with the intro track, Bored for One Thing, because I think
that'll catch you.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's not mine though, so I don't agree, I guess. Mine is actually the chant. Easily accessible. It's easily likable. Easy.
It is.
It's easy to like.
It is, but it's not easy. Because if you listen to its intro, Fortitude, and the chant, there are some interesting things going on. Like, I think if you just put the chant in this album, it would have felt out of place.
Oh, you have to have the beginning.
Yeah. It reminded me of Parabola
Oh.
on Lateralis. How you have like this intro and then it goes into the side, like leads you into that song. If you're someone who wants to go do ayahuasca in the Peru or Amazon, right? You will most likely have some sort of guide who will lead you through this. These are traditions that have been passed down for centuries. Many of them will sing these chants that go along. It like guides you through the trip. They're called Icaros. And this song feels kind of like in that vein.
Damn. John Popper Award, Evil. What's the best hook on this album?
It's the chant. It is the chant. That's it for me.
It totally is.
And it's so different. That is it.
It's actually not my answer, but it's probably the right answer. It's the thing that gets stuck in my head the most by far.
Yeah.
But I actually said Newfound. When they break into the chorus of Newfound and it turns into this minor driving kind of fucking desperate sounding. God damn, it just hits, man. John Prine Best Lyric Award. I already said it, and I think I botched it too, so sorry, Gojira fans, but we were born for one thing, to tame the greatest miracle of all. Evil, what's yours?
Same song, different lyric.
Oh.
We're no one united when we're gone.
These guys write lyrics.
Dude.
Eddie Van Halen Award.
In the song Hold On, between the first and second verse, there's like a main riff through the rest of the song, build up, and then this space, this like really lean version of the main riff plays with harmonics, and then the main riff kicks in.
Half breakdown
Dude,
kind of thing.
That is it for me. Yeah. And then they pound that riff through the rest of the song, which they're so good at.
It's awesome. All of the guitar in Another World, the whole song, the opening of Newfound, chunky metal, and then all of a sudden he does this phaser wah thing. It's fucking cool. It's so cool. And then, I think it's for all you music nerds or you guitarists especially, go listen to the guitar on Trails.
Oh, stealing some thunder here.
Oh, the guitar on Trails is so fucking understatedly hard.
Yeah.
It's so as a guitarist, I love when I find a super simple riff that I know when I go to play, it's going to be fucking impossible.
Right.
And this is absolutely one of those songs. Evil, what's your Surfer Rosa? What do you think about the way this album
It's
flows?
structured so well. I don't think one side's any better or worse than the other. I think it flows really well.
I agree. I think it's very evenly spaced and they do a good job. There are a few songs that don't really hold my interest, but they do a good job of spacing it out to where it doesn't affect the album. Speaking of Time of Your Life Award, Evil, what is your least favorite track on this album?
So I was going to say The Trails. And then I listened to it and I'm like, this is fucking subtle and calm and subdued, but super technical.
It's
beyond
so
technical. How the fuck does he play and sing this live? So I'm cheating by saying that this was my least favorite, but then I listened to it and I'm
It's your least favorite until it wasn't your least favorite.
Yes.
I'm going to say Hold On. It's not a bad song. It's the first time on this album where it kind of throws me out of the we can move forward. But let's go to our faves now. I will start the 3 best songs on this album. We've talked about all of them. My number 3 is The Chant. Simple, but not simple. Beautiful hook that gets stuck in your head forever. My number 2 is Another World. The fucking end where they're doing the ahs, and I'll play it right now. And they have that weird slidey guitar doing the
cool.
And Evil, I owe a shot because my favorite song is Newfound.
Wow.
I fucking love that song so much. That chorus hits so goddamn hard. And even towards the end where they're just, it dies off and they're just doing the arpeggio fading out stuff. And then all of a sudden there's this other metal breakdown that happens. And that kind of fades. That song's amazing.
Okay. I was so all over the place here. If you would have asked me yesterday, the list probably would have been different. At number 3, the pair of Fortitude and The Chant. That's like kind of ninth inning number 3 for me. My number 2, I'm going to go with that fucking killer opener, Born for One Thing. And this feels awkward because you didn't like this song very much. Hold On is my favorite right now.
Oh.
And it's that riff.
Really?
Like the space in that song, the intro, that space, that riff comes in, and then they all come together as the band. It sold it for me.
So I will say about Hold On, that even though it's my least favorite, the breakdown, the doodle-doo, bland, doodle-doo, the fucking guitar tone in that breakdown is just, it's unreal. So even in my least favorite song, it's fucking good stuff. Evil, who won the album?
I'm hopeful that the Amazon wins this album.
We got a few $100,000 from it. That's not bad. That's a good answer. It's a lot less selfish than my answer, which is I won this album. It had been a long time since I heard a metal album that just clicked with me. And this clicked. Absolutely. Another couple new categories. Number 1, do you regret what position you had it at last year? You had it at your 4th favorite album of the year. I had it at my 2nd favorite album of the year. Do you regret it?
No, because that was last year. It would probably rank higher out of that same group of albums today.
That's the actual question.
Oh.
Svend. So here's the thing. You're absolutely right.
Okay. This feels spoilery for the rest of the episode.
Oh, here, I'll tell you what my answer is first.
Okay.
I had this at 2.
Yeah.
I do not regret it, but it has changed.
Okay.
So we have an episode coming up where we revisit and revise 2021. You'll learn where I think I should have put this now.
Okay. I'll say this. I'll just say I don't regret having it in my top albums of last year at all.
Yeah.
There.
Me neither. Absolutely. Last question. Are you still listening to it? If we weren't dissecting this, would you still be listening to it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
And in fact, having gone through the process makes me want to listen to it even more.
I am pretty sure that even if we wouldn't have dissected this, a couple of these songs would be in my Spotify most listened to at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Evil, rate the album.
It's not a perfect album. I will give it 11 out of 12 saved Amazonian trees.
I like it.
Sounds so stupid.
That's very high.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? Mine's even stupider because mine is, and I agree, I don't think it's perfect.
No.
I give this a very solid 8 out of 10 trees. That's all mine was trees.
Just trees.
So if yours is stupid, mine is just downright dumb. That is Gojira Fortitude. That was fun to talk about.
Yeah.
We got one more fun one to talk about. We're going to take a break. We'll
Let's
be
do
right
it.
back. Are we back?
And we're back.
That's the second one. It's just your job now. Our second album of the night. One of our listeners by the name of Mark quoted as saying, "You guys should be getting paid by Royal Blood for as much as you promote them."
We should.
We should. Ironically, we don't have the rights to this because it's fucking Warner. Album is Typhoons by Royal Blood. Came out also April of 2021. Recorded in Brighton, which is where they're from. Like I said, the label is Warner and is produced by Royal Blood, Paul Epworth, and the Josh Homme. Gee, evil. I can't imagine why we liked this. So before we get into anything, we got to talk about the friendship test. Here's the thing. I am disqualifying Boilermaker.
Okay.
It's allowed to be your favorite song. Let's say Boilermaker is your favorite song.
Yeah.
But I pick a different song that's your second. That counts.
Got it. Well, okay. This breaks everything. Because wasn't Either You Want It one of your favorite songs from last year?
Yes.
Yeah. So I shouldn't be able to pick that.
No, why not? It's friendship test. That means if you know me, you win.
That's it. I mean, I know that's it. Well, unless it changed, it might have changed.
It's been a year, Evil.
Oh, intrigue. Dun, dun, dun. I'm going to pick that and hope that you've changed your mind.
And I think it was one of your favorites too, but Boilermaker is just such a duh for you. But I'm going to say your second, and this is a risky one because it's later on in the album, but I am going Hold On.
Oh.
It's not very rocky. The things that you and I both like about this album are not it's not rock.
Right.
You know what
it's
I mean? That's
like dance disco, AC
Exactly.
disco, AC/DC disco.
Exactly. So this album was certified 60K, which surprised me it's not more. Well, maybe not so much. It did reach number 1 in the UK, Ireland, shout out Ireland, and Scotland, who I also very much love. The highest that it reached the US was number 4 on the alternative rock charts. It's their third studio album. I don't want to get too far into their other stuff because there will be Royal Blood dissections on this podcast. This album, or it was, and still kind of is doing a really huge like video game tour. It's in a ton of video games. Yeah, a lot of songs in like baseball and football.
Oh, that
and,
makes
like,
I can see that.
wrestling
I can totally see that.
sort of video games. We have one thing that I need to do. I need to take a drink because I have, in honor of this album,
Oh, yes.
a Boilermaker. So you're going to love this. I didn't own any shot glasses because I'm not fucking 28 anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
My days of stunt drinking are far behind me.
Exactly. Don't have a need for shot glasses.
Nope.
So had to go buy a shot glass yesterday and I let my daughter pick it. So
That's amazing.
here is my
Parent of the Year. What is that?
cheers, y'all. Shot glass in pink. And here's the thing, it's a tall, skinny one, and I've never done a Boilermaker in a tall, skinny shot glass. So I don't know how this is gonna go.
Science is happening right here, folks.
Here we go, Boilermaker time.
Oh, and he's chugging the whole thing. So much for all that fitness advice I gave you.
Yeah. What did you call it? It's not a cheat meal. It's
a splurge.
Splurge.
You're splurging.
It is a splurge today. Hey,
Nice.
I've earned it, goddammit. That actually worked. That said, I have not done a Boilermaker in a while. This might be a problem. Evil, I would think that there are parts of this album that don't seem like they would be all that much you. What is it about this album that you love so much?
I am a closeted pop music fan for certain types of pop music. This just like pushes those buttons for me. I don't really like disco.
You do if you like this album. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like, it's a dance album. Disco, it's got like Daft Punk roots in it. It's
absolutely.
But also it's the Royal Blood formula. It's like AC/DC riffs over disco beats is what it is.
Yes.
And they do it really well. I think that's what it is they were able to do it well.
I was worried. All Royal Blood is, you that don't know, and I'm sure you all know, is Mike Kerr, who does the bass and the vocals. I mean, he does a lot of other stuff on the album, so when they're live, it's just him. And Ben Thatcher, who's the drummer. And that's it.
Yeah.
So I remember when I first heard this album, the only thing that worried me was, how is this going to work live? Because this is I don't want to say overproduced. It's not overproduced, but it's one of those, it's disco rock. Like it is very produced. You know, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of keyboard work and synth stuff in the background and female backup vocals. But even live, they do a really, really fucking good job with it. One keyboard player, and sometimes they have the female vocalists, and it's kind of the muse of whenever I hear their albums, I'm like, how the fuck are they going to do this live? But then I forget, oh, that's right. They're millionaires that have like pre-recorded shit backing them up, and it's good.
Have you heard anything? This is a digression. I'll make it short, but there's like a big kerfuffle between the singer for Falling in Reverse and Eddie Trunk, the DJ. Falling in Reverse lost multiple laptops, and they had to cancel shows because of it. And Eddie Trunk's like, you young whippersnappers need to figure out how to play shit live without technology. Sebastian Bach from Skid Row's vocalist, he chimed in. It's big kerfuffle on things. So what my takeaway is, it's okay, there are different kinds of music. There's live musicians, and then there's productions.
Yes.
I think they're different, and I think it's fair to give merit to those who have large productions, but also sort your shit out to where if you lose a couple laptops, you can still play live.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I do think this is also the type of band that if they didn't have a laptop, they'd be like, fuck it, well, we're good.
They're just going to play live. Yeah, they'll figure it out.
You listen to their older shit, and you can play it with two people.
Right.
The bass sound that he's figured out, they don't fucking need anything else, man. You know what's funny to me is as I was researching this, I have such similar feelings about these albums, Fortitude and Royal Blood's Typhoons. Obviously, they're nothing alike, but the amount that I enjoy listening to them, the amount that I think that they work as one cohesive piece of art. There's a couple songs that I start to fade out, but in the end, the albums have really stuck with me. They are my two most listened to albums from last year, for sure. The structure is very, very similar song to song. It's a lot of disco. You start with Trouble's Coming, and you get to a lot of the same stuff that you're going to hear throughout the album. You're going to get these amazing breakdowns, just super subtle, perfect backup vocals, drumming so simple, but so good. Fucking tight. You know, the little 5-second, the shorts, like TikTok started it.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is a drummer. He's doing What People Think Is Hard, and he's doing this crazy solo. And then he goes, what's actually hard? And he's just like, doonts, doonts. It's so fucking true. It's why Ringo was so fucking good, because he's a goddamn metronome. And that's this fucking drummer. That is so important when you're doing these kind of disco beats, right?
Oh my God, yeah. The simplicity of
Did you just have a Boilermaker?
I should have, I think. Maybe I would. The economy that he plays with and how genius it is not an easy task to pull off.
Yes. I know we're talking a lot about disco, but this album is it does not get enough credit, I think, for how much it bends genre. You show me an old school, like 80s punk rock lover loves this album. Me, who's more of maybe a little more hipster rock, I loved the early 2000s, which shout out, there's a documentary based on the book that just came out called Meet Me in the Bathroom about all the early 2000s New York, Interpol and the Strokes and stuff that I can't wait to fucking watch that. But that sort of shit and, grunge and stuff. There's you who are a little more metal. Like you loved all that stuff too, but like everybody fucking likes this.
I agree. I have a neighbor who's become a good friend and he loves the podcast, listens to it. He has this to say about Royal Blood. He likes Royal Blood, but he feels like they're forgettable. Here's the reason why. He's a big fan of Death from Above 1979, which I think Royal Blood are heavily influenced by.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do understand that sentiment.
Yeah.
If somebody were to say to me, and I'm glad you brought this up because I don't think I would have talked about it, but I'm glad we are. If somebody would come up and say to me, all Royal Blood is a gussied up, popped version of somebody like Death from Above, or there's like two people bands that are not coming into my head right now, but I can totally see that.
Right.
But I don't care.
I agree. I loved their first album quite a bit. I was a big fan.
Me too.
And
which is nothing like this album.
No, it's not. There are songs on their second album that I enjoy, but overall, I didn't like it as much. And I was kind of worried. I'm like, oh, they're going to get experimental and lose whatever it is that made them special on that first album. But they were able to push things even further experimentally. It's better. It all kind of came back together for me with Typhoons.
Maybe they're young.
Yeah.
And I think when you're young, there is a little bit of that fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
Royal Blood was highly respected by the elitist musician group and also like the hard rock group.
Yeah.
And to come out with this, that's
daring.
ballsy.
Yep.
There had to be a point where they heard this and they're like, you know, all of our fans might be like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
I mean, it's fresh. It's but still familiar.
Maybe kind of what Dave Grohl was trying to do with Medicine at Midnight. But they did it right.
I think there's a little something to that.
God, I know he doesn't, but man, I'm really glad Dave Grohl doesn't listen to this podcast.
Just speaking a little more to that, how much do you think the electronic dance music prevalence in England and their experience with that growing up influenced that, their ability to pull it together?
That's an extremely good point.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more of that 80s dance pop influence there.
The music that we listen to US bands in particular, can't not have been influenced by like the grunge era. But at the same time that Nirvana came out, Screamadelica hit, and like with Primal Scream's album Screamadelica hit, maybe even the same year. I'd have to look that up. That was definitely a different direction for music across the pond, as they say.
Absolutely.
And we didn't get that here.
Pablo Honey by Radiohead was 93.
Yeah.
That was 2 years after fucking Nevermind. 2 different wavelengths, neither of which was better than the other.
No.
I would guess that there's not that push over there like there is here to be the authentic rock.
I feel like there's an Oasis like reference in here somewhere.
Well, I hope you are going to be the one that saves me because I'm drowning in this one.
Matter.
Anyway, we're here for
Royal Blood.
Royal Blood. Should we just talk about the fucking hooks right now?
Oh my God.
Typhoons keep on raging, and I don't know why. The hook for Oblivion, the bridge for Oblivion, where he's doing the Somewhere I Lost My Way, the breakdown in 1,000,001 towards the end. You can do that this whole album.
How hard is it to write one riff like is all over this album?
Yes.
Just writing one. And these guys do it song after song after song and structure it in a way that's interesting.
I will say, as a musician, I've sat down to write licks. And it's not like these are complex.
No.
Boilermaker, bow and out, down and out, down.
No. It helps to have a Josh Homme in your ear.
It does, yeah. Are you loving a Royal Blood song or are you loving Josh Homme?
Right. Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's their fucking song.
Even I miss good music videos. This has a killer music video.
So good.
Yeah. It is one of the best rock songs in the last 10, 15 years.
I agree.
I mean, it is.
I say this a lot, and I'm just going to keep saying. In fact, I think I might end up making it an award next year. The fuck, I wish I would have written that song. Could you imagine how much fun that would be to play live?
There's certain things that hit that I'm just like, we talked about this in the Quickfire. There's a riff on the Halo Effect album that I'm just like, it makes me want to like jump on a war horse and ride into enemy lines, you know?
There are no songs in this album where when I go through and I look at the track listing, there aren't any songs where I'm like, oh, that's no, thank you.
You know what's funny? I hadn't listened to this for a while. And so I listened to the whole thing and I'm like, I don't know if I like this anymore. And it was just my mood. The second time I put it, I'm like, oh, no, it's still good. I had like this moment of like, oh shit, did I like make a huge mistake last year?
That's fucking hilarious because I did the same exact thing. Probably about 2 weeks ago, I turned this on and I was like, you know, this is super repetitive.
Yeah.
And this is, it's kind of the same song over and over. And I might be.
It's terrible background music.
Yeah.
It's dance music. Like, who listens to dance music as background music?
Yes. I mean, that's the fucking album. I'm really happy that they went the route that they did. Let's go to awards and categories because the David Crosby Meh Award, as you can imagine, maybe they didn't like the route they took.
Sure.
This is Robin from the United States. Based on their first album and the song that got some airplay, I thought it would be better and more like the albums before it. It's not. It's basically the same. Yawn.
It's not the same.
It's not. I played it a couple of times, then stashed it away deep into the archives. This is how I think she sounds. I have so much great music in my collection that I do not have or even want to find the time to listen to mediocre discs that just plod along sounding uninspired. That was her last sentence.
My request is that you come up with characters for all of these in the future.
That's a good idea, actually. She says she's from the United States, but what American says the word plod? Just plod along. I'm on to you, Robin. So this one might be a little bit tougher. The One of Us Award.
I was just thinking that. I don't...
Who likes this more, Rachel or Svend? To use the terms of our dear friend Rachel, this fucking slaps.
It does.
But the problem is Svend is a bass first guy.
Yeah.
I think the edge goes to Svend.
I think so too. I'm going to give Svend the edge on this one.
I also think that, and we didn't even talk about the themes of this album.
Oh yeah.
But it is a little bit duty. It is a little...
True.
Duty,
that's a good point. It's a little duty.
I really wish I would have found a different word for that. It is a little bit of in our reviews, we talked about Regina Spektor being such a female album about dudes. And I could see where a woman would not be able to relate to the themes of this as well.
It's brotastic for sure.
There we go. Thank you. You saved me. Evil DMX Award.
I think that what makes this album unique, it's disco and AC/DC.
I think I'm going to steal that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Greater than the sum of its parts. I loved AC/DC, but not disco.
Overrated, underrated, properly rated.
I think properly rated. Underrated when it came out, maybe. I saw some reviews that were a little bit lower than I thought they should be.
A lot of the big time reviewers that are popular right now, which I talked about in my last search one that I did by myself, my episode.
Yeah.
Why we don't do as much new music as other people do. Yeah, a lot of them were not into this album.
Yeah, I think it will age well.
I think it should. And you know what? Fucking Royal Blood is underrated anyway.
Yeah, agree.
Royal Blood, the band, is not as popular as they should be.
No, they should be, definitely should be bigger. I found two bands roughly the same time, Royal Blood and Rival Sons. Both so incredibly underrated. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are two of the best rock bands right now.
Influences and influencees. You can say all the the two-person bands,
sure,
like the White Stripes and a Jack White, absolute. But
100%.
And that's kind of any time that you bring up. So here's my thing: it's interchangeable. I don't know who. I honestly don't think either of them inspired either one. I think they just were coming up at the same time. But anytime you have music like this that is based on this amazing riff that is a little bit late 90s, early 2000s. I think that it is inspired by Josh Homme and Jack White.
Yeah.
Josh Homme was around earlier. He was doing stuff with Screaming Trees and shit like that.
Yeah, like Caius was early mid 90s, yeah.
But I also think that Jack White was doing shit with riffs and stuff that Josh Homme hadn't thought of.
That's true. I think I've said AC/DC over and over again here. So AC/DC and disco influenced this. But I think even they admitted that there's like Daft Punk influence here.
Yes.
And
Daft Punk, LCD Sound System even.
Yeah.
All the British... Yeah. Tossed Salad and Scrambled Eggs Award. We haven't really talked about this at all. Armchair Psychology. What is this album about in one sentence?
The whole album? Let's get pissed and dance our asses off.
I love that. See, that's what I want this to be, and you are probably right. I think personally, if you dissect the lyrics and you really pay attention to what he's saying, it's being eaten by the fame monster.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Now I'm famous. The real friends are gone. It's kind of I always do this, and as much as I love Royal Blood and I don't want to talk shit about them, Tenacious D's song The Road, where they're making fun of all the bands that are like, oh, I'm out on the road and it's so hard and having to screw a new girl every night and it's just so tough. That's kind of this album. That's a little bit of what this album is about. Never mind the Bullocks Award. This is fucking tough, dude. Do you think this is their best album?
Oh, man.
Right?
I can't tell you that today. I'll say this. I listened to it more than I really liked their first album, and I think the first album is amazing. It's between 1 and 3.
Perfectly acceptable answer.
If you would have asked me last year, I probably would have said yes. Today, I don't know.
John Paul Jones Award. You know, I say nothing. The only thing that I would have said, a guitarist or a keyboard player, not to take away anything from those two, but just to make sure that live they are as full. But they did that. So I don't have a good answer for this. What about you?
I think he only produced Boilermaker.
And some additional tracks that weren't on the album.
I want to see what a full album of Josh Homme producing Royal Blood. That, or maybe they become a trio and have Steel Beans on the side.
I love that. I was just going to say, this is me just, roster baiting. What if you,
God.
What if you went to a Royal Blood concert and Josh Homme came out and played Boilermaker with them? Teaching Young Award.
Boilermaker's too easy. Yeah, you go. Let me collect my thoughts.
So I'm going to say Typhoons. I just think it encompasses everything that is good about this album. It's got the really cool production of the intro. It's an amazing fucking riff. The chorus is this weird minor, and I even think the lyrics are incredible too. It's him talking about his mindset, and I don't know if it's a fame thing or what, but there's no time to pause.
Right.
But that's also a rocker's fault because, you can't pause. You can not drink one night and just go to your hotel room. It is possible.
That's ridiculous. I think Trouble's Coming, the intro track, it's a solid track, but I think it's a good intro for the album because it establishes the sound. But I also feel like it's just a good introduction to the band as well.
John Popper Award. What's the best hook, Evil?
The chorus or it's just the whole fucking song. It's Boilermaker.
I said the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's no question.
Bow now.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing. John Prine, Best Lyric Award. So I can say multiple lines from this song, and I know that I'm just picking the same song, but I was looking for some kind of savior, someone still counting on my worst behavior. I love that fucking line. I relate to that line. Every time I hear it, it gives me chills. It's brilliant. There are some really good lines on this, but that one's fucking epic.
So this is in the context of the whole phrase. Slip inside my sick dream, constant creatures all around me. I got leeches on my right. And here's the line, letdowns on the fence.
Yeah.
And then it continues, use me till I'm dry, then demand I bleed for them, who needs friends. Letdowns on the fence is fucking brilliant.
It's very fucking good. The Eddie Van Halen Award, Evil, what you got?
So it's not my favorite song on the album, but because you spoke so highly of it last season, I listened to it a little more critically. And the drumming on Either You Want It is so fucking good. That's what it is for me. In context of the rest of the album where the beats are so simple, it's fucking mind-bending. And it's still economical and simplistic in ways, but he just, I don't know, man.
I just sent you what my Eddie Van Halen Award is. Do you want to read that for me?
Yeah, hold on. The drum beat in Either You Want It is so fucking, and then it goes on. Killer. Yeah, that's right.
That's fucking amazing.
Wow. That was one of those ninth inning things for me,
That's hilarious. Everybody, that should tell you how amazing the drums are in Either You Want It. Surfer Rosa Award. I think it's the exact same as Gojira. It's spaced really well. There's a couple average songs that are kind of spaced out. Maybe falls off a teeny bit at the end, but I think it's well thought out album. What about you?
I agree. Boilermaker's pretty late in the album, and that, as Rachel would say, slaps. It is a banger, if you will. The first 3 tracks are solid. And then they change it up. I wouldn't say the quality drops off, but they definitely change the pace a bit.
Time of Your Life Award, Evil. What's the worst song on this album?
It's a good closer, I guess. And this isn't the deluxe version. I'm just talking about the standard
I know what you're
closer, the piano track at the end. All We Have Is Now. It's not one that I would put in a playlist.
I honestly, I hate that it's on the album. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's out of place.
It's so out of place. I think Who Needs Friends kind of kills the vibe when it hits.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it's also a little bit annoying, douchey. You know, I said that the fame monster eats everything is
right.
This is kind of that annoying part of when people get famous they start, I don't have real friends and this and that. You know, you could have actually kept the same friends.
Sure.
Like it's you that moved on, got rich and toured and stuff like that. It annoys me, but I do think All We Have Is Now. I don't get why the fuck it's on this album. Let's talk about what we like. 3 best songs on the album. My number 3 is Typhoons. I love this fucking song. I love
so
it.
Good.
The chorus is...
If Boilermaker wasn't on here, it would be the hook.
Oh, yeah. And then my number 2 is Either You Want It. It is.
It's your number 2 now.
It's my number 2. Ooh. It's Royal Blood's doo-wop song.
I know.
Which means that if Boilermaker is number 1, that you have guessed right on both songs for me. My number 1 song on this is Boilermaker. So I had to think about it really hard. And even though I fucking love Either You Want It, and I will probably keep preaching that song to people and just how understated it is and how complex,
it is complex.
It's a fucking doo-wop song.
Yeah.
But it's fucking Boilermaker, man. Like you said, it's one of the best rock songs written in the last decade.
Yeah, easily.
I have 2 shots. I have my Wild Turkey 101.
Oh, Jesus.
Bourbon.
Do it.
While you talk about your 3 best songs.
My number 3 was the hard choice to make. And I'm going to pick Hold On because you picked it as my number 1 and I just kind of want to rub it in a little bit. That is a great track. I think Mad Visions into Hold On, that transition is fucking great. As a dance album, having good transitions from track to track, that's brilliant.
Mad Visions is great too. We didn't even talk about it.
It is. It is. Like those 2 songs work so well together.
I agree.
We both agree it fucking falls off a cliff with the pianos at the end, but whatever. They almost stuck the landing. My number 2 is Oblivion. That song is so solid and is probably the most Death from Above 1979 inspired on the whole album.
It's got this eerie kind of Halloween-y organ-y thing going on.
Yeah.
It's a great song. I agree.
And then number 1, Boilermaker. I mean, big surprise. I am glad that they were able to write a song so big on album 3. Otherwise, the first album would have overshadowed their career if they didn't come out with something like this at this point. Here's a good AC/DC analogy. Bon Scott era, brilliant. And then they wrote Back in Black, one of the greatest selling albums of all time. And then AC/DC just did AC/DC. Yeah. They were a cover band of themselves. And then they fucking wrote Thunderstruck. And 12 years after Back in Black, and it re-injected some momentum to their career. These guys just had to wait till
they were 24 or whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah.
Who won the album, Evil?
Dance music, maybe. You could pick Josh Homme won the album. He helped them write the great song. You say Royal Blood won the album. You could say Two Pieces won the album. Let's say Disco. Disco won this album.
I like it. Yeah. Disco kind of won 2021 with Grohl coming out with Medicine at Midnight. And then you remember he had that interview with Pharrell where he was like, basically all of my drumming is conceptualized from 70s disco. Pharrell's head exploded. You could see Pharrell live thinking about Nirvana drums and be like, oh my God, you're fucking right.
Oh no. 70s disco music. There are disco songs throughout the year. What's the Korn track? Is it Got the Life?
Yeah.
That's a disco song.
Yeah.
So you can find disco bangers throughout the years.
My Who Won the Album, we talked about it a little bit here and there, but with a bullet is Ben Thatcher, the drummer.
Yeah, that's a really good answer.
Not only is he just he's not the front man. He doesn't want to be the front man. He's a drummer's drummer. Like you talk to drummers and they fucking love this guy. He is everything you want in a drummer. He is so simple. But then when you need something extra or a fill, he's got the perfect one. And then, have you seen them play live?
I watch live footage.
Fucking bottle of fucking Jose Cuervo. At all times. What is not to love about this fucking guy? I fucking love Ben Thatcher. I think he won this album, absolutely.
I like that. I like that answer. I didn't see that coming, but it makes so much sense.
Do you regret the position you had it at last year? I had it at number 3, and you had it at number 2.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm not going to give anything away with our revisit, but I will say it's definitely still in my 5, but is not my 3rd anymore.
I probably agree with you. It just could be the mood I'm in at the time prepping for this, but I would have put Gojira album above this one if I ranked them today. I don't know how or where.
Well, we'll find out in a few episodes. Are you still listening to it? Not just for this. Have you listened to this?
I hadn't in a while, but it's still definitely is something that I will continue to listen to. I think it's such a fun, great album. It's got like a spring summer feel to me. We're like going into fall now. It doesn't really fit the vibe yet.
You and your vibes and your whatnot.
Hey, I'm a moody fucker, man.
Yeah, I still listen to it. It's one of my favorite hyper vinyls. And the last thing that we got to do is we got to rate this album, Evil. What do you rate this?
I will give it a 10.5 out of 12 Boilermakers. I don't know why everything's out of 12 today, but that's what I'll do. 10.5 out of 12.
So it's a teeny bit less good as Gojira.
Yeah.
I could see that. It's not as thoughtful, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little flatter in spots than the Gojira album is.
I'm going to give the exact same score as I gave Gojira, actually.
Yeah.
This is an 8 out of 10, and I talked about it at the beginning of the Royal Blood dissection, but these albums are very similar to me, and they're both very strong 8 out of 10 albums. I love this album. But I fully admit it's a 7 or 8. It's pretty one-dimensional, and it's very much the same formula every song. But that doesn't make it bad.
You know how certain years just have, God, I almost used the word vibe again. Vibe, it's a vibe, man.
Good vibes only, Evil.
It was my 2021 album, but it's no longer the vibe.
I'm going to talk about what you are currently talking about a lot in the finale, actually.
Oh, good. Okay.
I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot from having a podcast.
I avoided using the word zeitgeist, but that's really...
I've used that too much this year, so you can't use it.
Okay.
But I actually like the
Edit
word
that out.
vibes.
No.
I think the word vibes is good.
Yeah. When Typhoons came out, it was like, I'm like, this is my shit right now.
Exactly. And that's Gojira and Royal Blood.
There it
we
is.
did our Samesies, Evil.
We did it.
We're the best. I love this episode. I am so glad
This is fun.
that we did this. I hope that there are at least 2 Samesies with people. I hope that there are 2 Samesies with more than just us 2, so we can have like
Right.
3 of us on it. Man, that'd be fucking fun. We're just fanboying out. I love it. VerseChorusFirst.com at VerseChorusFirstPod. We're on TikTok. Go rate and review us. iTunes, it's not that hard. Every time you leave us a 5-star review, it helps us. I've been really bad about promoting that this year. I'm sorry to myself and all the other Verse Chorus Verse people that I work with. Join us next week, the second to last episode before we are all together in a cabin in the wilderness, and Rachel and I are starting something big that's going to happen every year. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Wow. I don't even think I know what this is.
Evil, I am really glad I got to do this episode with you. This was
Me
a
too.
blast.
Yeah, it was fun to prepare for.
People, you're all the best of the peoples.
Keep being you.
And save the rainforest.
Save the trees.
Good night and good luck.
Oh, I wanna stay right by your side.